The November wind tears through the streets of Boston's North End like a blade wrapped in ice. Frost coats the windows of Rossetti's Italian restaurant, turning the glass into sheets of crystallized silence. Inside, the private dining room glows with candlelight that flickers across mahogany walls and leather booths worth more than most people's homes. It is 11:34 p.m. A clear winter night. The kind of night where secrets come to die. The service entrance door swings open with sudden violence. Allara Santos stumbles through it like a wounded animal, her black maid's uniform torn at the shoulder, hanging loose and useless. Her white apron is soaked dark with blood, not a little blood, but the kind that means real damage, real pain. One eye is swollen completely shut, purple and grotesque as rotting fruit. The other eye is wide, terrified, darting. Handprint bruises darken her throat like a necklace of violence, 5 fingers pressed so hard into her skin that the flesh has darkened to deep purple. She is 27 years old. She looks like she has lived 40. Her dark hair, usually pulled back with careful precision despite her poverty, is now plastered to her pale face with sweat and blood. Her breathing comes in ragged sobs, each breath a gasp, as if her lungs are fighting just to pull air into a body that has given up. The smell hits first. Garlic and wine from the kitchen, the richness of Italian cooking, mingling suddenly with something metallic and copper, blood, fresh and sharp. She collapses near the industrial kitchen. Her legs simply give way. Her small frame, already fragile from years of eating less than enough, crumples to the tiled floor. Her hands grip the cold stainless steel of a prep table, trying to catch herself, but gravity wins. She slides down, leaving a smear of blood on the polished surface. Her lips move. No sound at first. Just the shape of words. Then, barely a whisper, "Please, they are coming for the boy." In the private booth in the back, surrounded by leather so soft it feels like a second skin and candlelight that casts everything in gold, 2 men in perfectly tailored black suits go absolutely still. Their names are Tony and Franco. They work for Alessandro Valenti. They have worked for him for 12 and 14 years respectively. They were laughing 2 seconds ago, a low, comfortable laugh about a business deal that just closed, money moving in the direction it always moves when you have the power to make it move. The laughter dies. Their hands move toward concealed weapons with the kind of precision that comes from muscle memory. Years of training. Years of being ready for threats. But they do not draw. Not yet. They wait. They watch. They have learned to wait for the man behind them. Behind them, rising slowly from the leather booth like a man made of something darker than flesh, is Alessandro Valenti. He is 61 years old. His hair is dark, steel gray at the temples. His eyes are the color of a storm approaching across open water, not quite black, not quite gray, but something in between that makes people look away. A scar runs from his left temple to his jaw, a thin white line that cuts across his face like a signature, a mark that says he has survived things that were meant to kill him. He wears a suit that costs more than Allara Santos makes in 8 months. The fabric is Italian wool, so fine it seems to catch light differently than normal cloth. His shirt is open at the collar, showing a chest broad and heavy with muscle that has not softened with age. Around his wrist is a gold watch that costs more than a car. On his fingers are silver rings, each one a statement of power, of resources, of men who answer to his name. When he rises, the entire room changes. The air feels different. Colder. Heavier. As if his movement has shifted something fundamental in the laws of physics. He moves toward her without hesitation. Each step is deliberate, controlled, the way a general moves across a battlefield when he has already decided the outcome. She tries to push herself backward, even now, even bleeding, even broken. The fear in her remaining open eye is absolute. She has learned that powerful men do not move toward the powerless without reason, and the reasons are never kind. "Do not," he says. His voice is deep and solid like an oath. Like a man speaking to someone drowning. "Do not move." Tony and Franco exchange a look. In 16 combined years of employment, they have never heard him say those words with that tone. Never. He kneels, this man worth $2 billion, this man who has ordered the kind of things that do not get discussed in polite company, this man who commands fear the way other men command loyalty. He kneels on the tiled floor beside her. His expensive suit coat touches the blood. He does not seem to notice. He does not seem to care. Who did this? His voice is still quiet. This is the voice that terrifies people more than shouting ever could. She tries to speak. Her throat is too damaged. The words come out shattered, fractured, barely intelligible. Anthony? Anthony Marchetti, he wanted me to. The sound of his breathing is the only thing in the room that matters now. Not the candlelight. Not the ticking of the grand clock on the wall. Not the distant hum of the kitchen's refrigeration unit. Just his breathing, steady and controlled while everything else in the universe seems to be coming apart. The boy, she whispers. Micah. He is after Micah. He said if I don't help him, he will find him. He will kill him. He said he has 7 days. I have 7 days to bring him. She cannot finish. The words break. Her breath breaks. She seems to be breaking into smaller and smaller pieces, right there in front of him. The screen goes black. Complete darkness. No light. No sound except for the echo of her breathing, fading, becoming something like a memory. A single word appears, white letters on that absolute black. Allara. Then another word. Alessandro. Then a final phrase. But what she did not know was that the stranger whose hand she was about to take would burn his entire world down to keep her safe. The screen remains black. The sound of her breathing continues for a moment longer, then fades to nothing. Then a voice, warm and close to your ear, speaking directly to you. Before we continue with what happens next, if this story is already hitting you, drop a like. Do not scroll past this moment. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel so you do not miss what is coming tomorrow. This is the kind of story that changes how you see love, how you see power, how you see what one person can do for another when they have nothing left to lose and everything to protect. Now let us rewind. Let us go back to the beginning. Let us go back to 7 days before Allara Santos walked through that service entrance covered in blood. Let us go back to when she was still invisible, still nobody, still trying to survive on $200 in her wallet and a prayer that never quite seemed to reach heaven. Let us go back to the day that everything fell apart, and the day that something greater than she could have ever imagined was about to be born from that destruction. This is her story. The rain begins to fall. The rain begins to fall. It falls in sheets against the windows of a one-room apartment in Dorchester, each drop hitting the glass like a small fist demanding entry. Inside, in the darkness before dawn, Allara Santos lies awake on a mattress that has seen better decades, listening to the wind howl through the gap where the window frame no longer quite fits. Her breath comes out in small white clouds. The heating has been broken for 6 weeks. She cannot afford to fix it. The clock on the wall reads for 27 a.m. She pulls herself up slowly, every muscle protesting, and her bare feet touch linoleum so cold it feels like stepping into a grave. The apartment is silent except for the rain and her own breathing, thin and careful, as if she is afraid that making too much noise might shatter something already broken. She has learned how to move through the world quietly. Invisibility is a survival skill. Allara walks to the kitchen, if the word kitchen can describe a hot plate and a sink with a single faucet that delivers only cold water. Beneath the sink, behind a loose panel, she reaches into a coffee can and counts the money with trembling fingers. $200. That is all that remains in the world. $200. In her mind, she is already dividing it. Electricity, $85. Food for Micah, $30. Medicine for her cough that will not go away, $20. That leaves $65. $65 to last 14 days. To last forever. She sets the money down and does not look at it again. The black and white maid's uniform hangs on a nail behind the bathroom door, the fabric worn thin at the elbows where her arms push against tables and marble countertops 8 hours a day. She pulls it over her head and stands in front of the mirror, which is spotted with age and shows her a woman she barely recognizes anymore. 29 years old. She looks 47. Her name is Allara Santos. She is a ghost. She works 3 jobs. Before sunrise, she cleans office buildings downtown, sweeping floors that will be walked on and dirted again by noon. During daylight, she works as a maid at the Blackwood estate on Beacon Hill, where she polishes silver that costs more than her annual salary and washes marble floors so large she sometimes forgets where she started. And at night, after her hands are raw and her back screams, she volunteers at St. Catherine's shelter for at-risk children, because there are people in this world who need her, and being needed is the only thing that makes her feel like she exists at all. The shelter. She leaves her apartment at 5:15 a.m. and takes the bus across the city, watching the wealthy neighborhood slide past the windows like dreams she will never enter. The Blackwood estate appears first, 3 stories of granite and black shutters, set back from the street like a fortress that has learned to despise the world. Allara gets off at the service entrance. Cordelia Blackwood is already awake, waiting in the kitchen in a silk robe that probably costs more than Allara's entire wardrobe. She is 43 years old and has the face of a woman who has spent a lifetime believing that everyone beneath her is beneath her because they deserve to be. Her diamonds catch the morning light as she watches Allara tie on her apron. "You are slower than the last girl," Cordelia says. "It is not a greeting." "Perhaps you need this job less than I thought." Allara keeps her head down, her voice barely a whisper. "No, I need it very much." "Then move faster," Cordelia says, and she turns away, dismissing her like a hand waving away smoke. Allara moves through the Blackwood estate like a ghost, like a shadow that the residents have learned not to see. She scrubs the marble floors in the entrance hall, each stroke of her brush leaving the stone gleaming like dark water. Her hands shake as she works, not from cold, but from exhaustion so deep it has become part of her bones. She has been awake for 42 hours, working 2 full shifts back to back because the office building needed emergency cleaning after a pipe burst in the ceiling. Her back aches in ways that make her wonder if her spine is slowly turning to ash. By noon, she has finished the Blackwood estate. She leaves through the service entrance and takes the bus downtown, where she clocks in at an office building and cleans bathrooms until her eyes blur. Then she takes another bus to the shelter, arriving at 6:06 p.m., still wearing her uniform because there is no time to go home. St. Catherine's shelter sits in a neighborhood that the city has learned to forget. The building is old, painted a shade of institutional blue that seems designed to depress the spirit. But inside, in the playroom on the 2nd floor, there is a boy named Micah. He is 7 years old, with dark curly hair that has never quite been combed properly, and a scar on his left temple that cuts like a thin white line through his skin. The scar is shaped like a crescent moon. He does not speak. No one knows why. He arrived at the shelter 8 months ago with a black eye and bruises on his small body that told a story nobody wanted to hear. Since that day, Micah has communicated through drawing. Allara finds him sitting at the art table, surrounded by colored pencils and paper, his small hands moving with the focused intensity of someone trying to explain something he cannot say out loud. When he sees her, his whole face changes. The shadows that live in his eyes lift, just slightly, like curtains being drawn back to let in light. "Hello, baby," Allara says, and she sits down beside him, her knees cracking as she folds herself into a chair sized for children. Micah slides a drawing across the table toward her. It is a picture of a man. The man is tall, with sharp features and dark hair, and across his left temple runs a thin white scar, exactly like the one Micah bears. The man is standing in front of a restaurant, its windows glowing with warm light. Above the man, Micah has drawn a series of stars, and beneath them, the word Dad, written in careful letters. Allara's heart, which she thought had stopped beating years ago, suddenly remembers how to break. She folds the drawing carefully and slips it into her pocket, where it lives next to a photograph of her late husband, Carlos, dead for 3 years from a heart attack that came without warning on a Tuesday afternoon. She does not know who the man in Micah's drawing is. She knows only that this child has been asking for his father in the only language available to him, and nobody has listened. "This is beautiful, Micah," she whispers, and she holds him while he sits in silence, his small body rigid against hers, learning slowly that there is at least one person in the world who will not leave. By the time Allara locks up the shelter at 10:19 p.m., the rain has started again, falling in sheets that soak through her uniform. She walks to the bus stop, counting in her mind. $85 for electricity. $30 for food. $20 for medicine. $65 remaining. The numbers run in circles. She does not notice the black Mercedes parked across the street until it pulls up alongside her at the bus stop, moving slowly, like a shark circling prey. The window rolls down. Anthony Marchetti leans out. He is 28 years old, with the face of a man who has never been told no, and the cruel smile of someone who enjoys watching people smaller than him struggle. His suit probably costs more than Allara makes in a month. He wears a gold watch that reflects the streetlight. "Allara Santos," he says. It is not a question. "Get in the car." She does not move. Every instinct in her body is screaming to run, but her feet have become roots. Anthony reaches out and grabs her wrist, his fingers closing around her like a trap. His grip is not hard, not yet, but the threat in it is absolute. "I said get in the car. Do not make me ask you again." Allara pulls her wrist back, and for just a moment, he lets her go. She stumbles backward, her heart hammering so hard she thinks her ribs might crack. "I do not know who you are," she says, but her voice has become something breakable, something like glass being slowly stretched thin. Anthony laughs. It is a sound like breaking teeth. "Yes, you do. You work at the Blackwood estate. You clean at the restaurant on Thursdays. You volunteer at St. Catherine's shelter where nobody ever checks on the kids because nobody cares." He leans farther out the window, and his voice drops to a whisper that somehow carries more weight than a scream. "You take care of a boy there. Micah. 7 years old. Dark curly hair. Little scar on his temple." The world stops. Allara cannot speak. She cannot breathe. She cannot do anything but stand there in the rain, watching the water run down the window of the Mercedes, watching the smile on Anthony's face grow wider and wider, like a mouth swallowing light. $47,000, Allara, Anthony says. "That is what you owe me now. 7 days. There is a restaurant on Atlantic Avenue where my uncle keeps certain documents. Confidential documents. Important documents. Thursday night, you are going to go into that restaurant, and you are going to steal them for me. You are going to walk into the office, find the safe, and bring me what is inside. And if you do not, if you try to run or hide or go to the police, I am going to find that boy. And I am going to take him somewhere nobody will ever find him." He leans back and the window rolls up slowly, like a coffin lid closing. The Mercedes pulls away into the rain, leaving Allara standing alone at the bus stop, water streaming down her face, mixing with tears she did not realize she was crying. In her pocket, the drawing of Micah's father rustles against the photo of her dead husband. In her other pocket, she has $65 and a prayer that stopped reaching heaven a long time ago. The bus arrives. She does not get on it. She walks instead, walking through the rain without direction, walking until her feet carry her to a church that stays open all night, a small Catholic chapel where candles flicker in red glass holders and the smell of incense hangs in the air like the ghost of someone's devotion. She sits in the back pew and does not pray, because she has forgotten how. It is 11:11 p.m. on a Thursday night in November, and Allara Santos realizes that she has run out of places to hide. The truth has finally caught up with her. The world has finally learned where she stands, and it is reaching out to take the only thing she has ever loved. The rain continues to fall against the chapel windows, each drop a small sound, a small voice, a small cry that nobody hears. The rain hammers against the chapel windows like 1,000 desperate fists. Allara sits in the back pew, her wet clothes clinging to her skin, the cold seeping into her bones like a slow poison. It is 11:19 p.m. on a Thursday night in November, and she realizes with absolute clarity that she has run out of places to hide. The drawing of Micah crumples in her trembling hands. In her other pocket, the photo of her dead husband feels heavier than it ever has, two ghosts, both depending on her, both slipping away. She does not know that 3 miles away, in a private booth at Rossetti's restaurant, Alessandro Valenti sits absolutely still, his cold grey eyes fixed on the service entrance where she used to work. He has not eaten. The untouched plate of risotto grows cold in front of him. His lieutenant Tony stands nearby, uncomfortable in the silence, the kind of silence that tastes like copper and carries the weight of something about to break. 2 days have passed since Anthony Marchetti cornered her at the bus stop. 2 days of lying awake, counting the hours, counting the money she does not have. $65 in her wallet. $200 hidden in a coffee can under her kitchen sink. That is everything. $47,000 by Tuesday midnight or Micah disappears. She returns to work Thursday night because she cannot afford not to. St. Catherine's Shelter pays $13 an hour to watch children while their mothers work night shifts or attend court dates or try to piece together lives shattered by circumstances nobody warned them about. It is not enough. It has never been enough. But Micah sleeps better when he knows she will be there in the morning, his small hand reaching out across the darkness to find hers. Rossetti's restaurant sits on Hanover Street in the North End, a place where old money and new power intersect over plates of pasta that cost more than Allara makes in a week. She enters through the service entrance at 9:02 p.m., her black maid's uniform pressed and clean, her hair pulled back tight, her face arranged into the expression of useful invisibility that she has perfected over 7 years of working in places where rich people pretend that servants have no ears, no eyes, no hearts that can break. The private dining room gleams under soft amber light. Crystal glasses catch the light and fractured it into 1,000 tiny rainbows. The windows frost over with the cold November night pressing against the glass like something alive and hungry. She begins clearing the earlier table, movements quiet and practiced, hands that know how to be invisible. At 10:15 p.m., he arrives. Alessandro Valenti moves through the restaurant like a blade wrapped in ice. He is tall, 6'1", broad across the shoulders in a way that speaks of violence held in careful check. His suit costs more than everything she owns, charcoal grey, tailored so precisely that each seam is a statement of power. A white shirt lies open at his throat, revealing the edge of a tattoo she has never quite seen fully. His hair is dark, silvered slightly at the temples, slicked back from a face that might have been beautiful if it were not so completely devoid of warmth. But the scar is what makes her look away. It runs from the corner of his left eye down to his cheekbone, thin and white and terrible in its precision, like something had once tried to cut the humanity right out of him. His lieutenants follow. Tony, broad-shouldered and weathered, with a scar of his own running through one eyebrow. Franco, younger, with eyes that never quite stop moving, calculating angles and exits and threats. They settle into the private booth in the back corner, the one that faces the door. Security. Always security. She keeps her head down. She is good at this, at being the space between people, at existing in the peripheral vision of the powerful. Footsteps approach, she moves away. Voices rise, she becomes quieter. But she hears fragments. Always fragments. The shipment arrives Tuesday, Tony says, his voice low and urgent. The Koslov people are getting nervous. They want confirmation. They will wait. Alessandro's response comes like dark water settling. Luca's betrayal cost us 8 years of exposure. If my brother had not sold us out to them, if he had not run like a coward, we would not need this level of security on every operation. She continues clearing. She should not hear this. But the booth is close and the restaurant is nearly empty and her ears work whether she wants them to or not. At 11:17 p.m., the service entrance door crashes open. Anthony Marchetti stands in the doorway with eyes that burn wild and unfocused. He is high on something, cocaine maybe, or something worse, his pupils dilated so wide they swallow the blue of his irises. He is thin in a way that speaks of addiction, with the kind of nervous energy that comes from wanting something so badly you would burn the world down to get it. His suit, expensive once, hangs loose on his frame. Where is she? His voice cracks on the second word. Where is she? Allara moves toward the kitchen. Too slow. His eyes snap to her, and something like recognition flashes across his face, followed immediately by rage. He crosses the space between them in 3 long strides and grabs her by the throat. The impact drives her backward, her shoulders slamming against the brick wall of the service entrance. The air leaves her lungs in a rush. You think you can ignore me? His fingers dig into her neck. His breath smells like chemicals and desperation. You think you can avoid my calls and pretend you did not hear what I said? She cannot speak. Her hands scrabble at his wrist. Useless, useless. We are going to walk in there together, he hisses, his lips pulled back from his teeth, and you are going to help me get those documents. You are going to walk into his office and open that safe, and if you do not, if you try to scream or run or do anything stupid, I will go to that shelter. I will find that boy. I will take him somewhere so dark, so deep, that even you will not be able to find the pieces. The rain falls harder outside, drumming on the metal awning above them. She tastes blood. Her own blood. In that moment, with his hands around her throat and his words painting pictures of horrors she cannot unsee, she makes a choice. Her hand closes around a loose brick jutting from the wall behind her. Just barely loose. She pulls it free and drives it upward toward his face. It does not hit him square, but it catches the edge of his temple and he staggers backward, his grip loosening just enough for her to gasp for air. He recovers fast. Too fast. His hand comes back, and this time his fist is clenched, this time he is aiming for her face. But the door behind him opens. A black SUV screeches to a stop in the street outside, tires screaming against the wet pavement. Men pour out, 5, no 6, no more than that, dressed in dark coats that do not quite hide the weapons beneath. They move with military precision, which means they are not Valenti's men. Which means this is something else entirely. Gunfire erupts like thunder. Windows explode. The restaurant erupts into chaos. Marchetti grabs Allara by the arm and shoves her in front of him as a shield, running toward the interior of the restaurant where Alessandro Valenti is rising from his booth like a man waking from a long sleep. His face shows nothing. But Franco is already moving, weapon drawn, and Tony is pushing toward the front entrance. A bullet grazes Allara's shoulder. The pain is white-hot and immediate, but the cold is worse, the shock of it, the wrongness, the realization that she is truly going to die here in this expensive restaurant wearing a uniform that cost $15 at a second-hand store. She sees Valenti's eyes meet hers across the chaos. And then she does the only thing she can think to do. She throws herself in front of him, covering his body with hers. Glass explodes around them, raining down like ice and tears, cutting her arms and her back and her neck. She does not feel it. She feels nothing except the weight of his body beneath hers and the terrible knowledge that she has failed, that Micah will never know what happened to her, that her dead husband's photo will outlast her by decades. Everything goes black. When she wakes, she is in the booth. His jacket lies across her shoulders, warm and smelling of expensive cologne and something underneath it, something like rain and gunpowder and the particular scent of a man who has made terrible choices and knows exactly what they cost. She is lying on the leather couch, her shoulder bandaged, her back stinging from where the glass cut deep. A man she has never seen before is packing a black leather medical bag. Not a hospital doctor. Something in his manner, the quickness of his movements, the way he does not ask questions, marks him as someone who regularly treats wounds that cannot be reported. Allara tries to sit up. Everything protests. Do not move. Alessandro Valenti's voice emerges from across the room, and it is the first time she has heard him speak directly to her. It sounds like something solid and dangerous, like a blade drawn slowly from its sheath. He sits in the chair across from her, perfectly still, his hands folded in his lap, and he watches her the way a predator watches prey that has not yet recognized it is being hunted. You have been shot. You have lost blood. You are not leaving this room. I have to. The words come out as a rasp. Her throat is on fire. Bruised. He will find Micah. Marchetti will find him. He said if I did not help him, he would. Who will find whom? Each word drops like a stone into still water. Tell me everything. She breaks. The story pours out of her like something rotten finally lanced. Anthony Marchetti, his nephew, his threats, the $47,000 he claims she owes him, the 7-day deadline, the boy at St. Catherine's shelter who has not spoken a word in the 8 months she has known him but who draws pictures of a man with a scar and hands them to her without explanation. She pulls out the drawing with shaking hands. It is wrinkled now, worn soft from her carrying it everywhere. Micah drew it with colored pencils, blacks and grays and reds, showing a man with an angular face and a scar running down his left cheekbone. The man stands alone in a forest of shadows, but there is something in the drawing that suggests he is waiting. Waiting for someone. Waiting to remember. He drew this, she whispers. I do not know why. He never speaks. Alessandro Valenti takes the drawing. His hand trembles. For the first time, Tony sees his boss's hand tremble. The scar. The angle of the face. The exact expression in the eyes, caught somehow in pencil strokes that should not contain such precision. What is the boy's full name? His voice has changed. Something underneath it has cracked open. Just Micah. No last name. He was found abandoned at the hospital when he was very small. Nobody claimed him. He went into the system. Valenti stands and walks to the window. His back is absolutely rigid, the line of his shoulders drawn so tight it looks like he might shatter if anyone touched him. When he speaks, each word comes slowly, as if he is speaking across a distance that cannot be crossed. 8 years ago, my brother Luca betrayed me. He sold family secrets to the Koslov syndicate for $3 million. Before he ran, before he disappeared like the coward he took something from me. He took my son. My only child. He sold the boy to my enemies to cover his betrayal, to buy himself time to escape. I have searched for 8 years. Every city, every lead, every dark place where children disappear. I thought my son was dead. He turns. His eyes are dry, but something in them has been burned away and replaced with something like hope and something like a wound too deep to ever fully close. How old is the boy? 7. Maybe 8. Nobody knows exactly. The age matches. The timeline matches. Everything matches in a way that cannot be coincidence. Valenti makes a call. His voice is clipped, authoritative. I need surveillance from St. Catherine's shelter. Current location. The boy named Micah. Now. 20 minutes later, photos arrive on his phone. Micah asleep in a narrow bed, his small face peaceful, his hand curled against his chest. Micah drawing at a table, his dark eyes focused with absolute concentration. Micah and Allara, his small hand holding her finger as they walk together through the shelter garden. Valenti's face breaks for just 1 second. Raw grief and hope collide inside him and it shows in his eyes, in the tremor at the corner of his mouth. Then he breathes and the mask slides back into place, but not completely. Something has shifted. That is my son, he says. Allara stares at him, trying to understand. Then why was he in a shelter? Why was he alone? Because whoever took him from Luca either could not sell him or lost him to someone who did not know what they had. They abandoned him. I knew, or his voice drops to barely a whisper. You kept him alive. She shakes her head. I am nobody. I just work there. He needed someone, and I. You protected him for 8 months. Valenti sits across from her again, leaning forward, his elbows on his knees. You protected me tonight, a stranger, with your body as a shield. Why would you do this? Because no child should be alone, she says. Her voice breaks on the words. Because I know what it means to lose everything. She reaches into her pocket and pulls out the photo of her dead husband. Worn, faded, the edges soft from years of being carried close to her heart. She shows it to him. He died 5 years ago. Car accident. He was coming home from a second job. A drunk driver. He was 32 years old and he died coming home to us, and I have been alone ever since. So when I saw Micah, when I saw how alone he was, how afraid, I could not let him be invisible. I could not let him think that nobody wanted him. Tony and Franco stand frozen. In 15 years of working for Alessandro Valenti, they have never seen him look at another person this way. Like they matter. Like they are not invisible. Valenti's phone rings. He answers with one word, speak. His face goes colder. When? Understood. Do nothing yet. He hangs up and turns to her. His eyes are different now, not cold, but sharp, focused, dangerous in a way that has nothing to do with her. Cordelia Blackwood has been feeding information to Marchetti. She uses her social position, her connections to wealthy families, to destroy you deliberately. She whispers rumors about you. She tells people you steal. She has blocked you from better positions. Every door that closed in your face, she made sure it was locked. But I have never even spoken to her beyond yes and no. Why would she? Because she wants my territories. Because Marchetti is useful to her. Because she sees you and sees a weakness she can exploit. He stands. Marchetti is at her estate right now. They are planning something. But they have made a critical mistake. He walks toward the door where Tony and Franco wait. What are you going to do? Allara asks. He pauses. When he speaks, his voice is final, absolute, the voice of a man who has already decided the future. No one touches you again. No one touches my son. And Marchetti will learn what happens when you threaten what is mine. The rain continues outside, falling harder now, and somewhere in that darkness, two people sit in a mansion on Beacon Hill, completely unaware that the man they have decided to destroy is already moving, already planning, already orchestrating the events that will dismantle their lives piece by piece. They have no idea what is coming. The marble floor is cold against her cheek. Blood pools from her split lip, tasting like copper and shame. Allara Santos lies in Cordelia Blackwood's foyer, rain hammering the windows like bullets, and she understands in this moment what it means to have nothing left to lose. Her jaw throbs. Her ribs ache where Marchetti's fist connected. But the pain in her body is small compared to the terror in her chest. $47,000. 7 days, and now those days are gone. Cordelia stands above her, still holding her tea, watching like Allara is a broken toy no longer worth playing with. Child services will be notified by noon, Cordelia says, her voice smooth as silk over broken glass. Micah will be in state custody by tomorrow evening. And you, my dear, will never see him again. You will lose your position at the shelter. You will lose your volunteer license. You will lose everything. Allara's hands shake as she pushes herself up onto her elbows. The white room spins. Everything in this estate costs more than everything she owns, the paintings, the furniture, the cashmere throws draped over sofas. Cordelia Blackwood is a woman built from cruelty and inheritance, and Allara is a stain on her marble floor. I will not help him, Allara whispers. Her voice breaks like glass. I will not betray Alessandro. Marchetti grabs her wrist, yanks her to her feet. His breath smells like whiskey and rage. Then the boy pays the price. We both know how the system works for kids like him. Group homes. Older boys. Hands that are not gentle. He releases her, watches her stumble backward. You have until tomorrow morning to change your mind. Plant the devices in Valenti's office like I asked. One device. That is all. Then Cordelia drops the complaint, and the boy stays safe. The choice sits before her like a knife. Allara walks to the window. Rain continues, relentless, cold, transforming the Blackwood estate gardens into a landscape of mud and drowning flowers. Outside, beyond these walls, the city continues. People sleep. Children dream in warm beds. Micah sleeps at the shelter right now, unaware that his world is about to collapse. She thinks about her late husband. She thinks about every promise she has ever broken. She thinks about the $200 hidden in her apartment, $200 that cannot save anyone, cannot change anything, cannot stop this machine that is crushing her. For one terrible moment, she reaches for her phone. Her finger hovers over Marchetti's contact. She could do it. Plant one device. Let Valenti's operation absorb the damage. Sacrifice one man she barely knows to save the boy she would die for. Isn't that how survival works? Isn't that what mothers do? Then she remembers. She remembers Alessandro Valenti's face when he saw Micah's drawing of his father. She remembers the way his eyes went wet, the way his whole body went still, like a man watching the ocean after a lifetime in prison. She remembers him saying, "That is my son," and his voice sounding like a man finding religion in the dark. She remembers his voice, deep and solid like an oath, promising her, "No one touches you again." She dials Tony instead. "Mr. Valenti needs to know," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. "Cordelia Blackwood. The Beacon Hill estate. Right now." The line goes silent. Then Tony speaks, and every word is ice. "Do not move. Do not speak to anyone. We are coming." The dial tone sounds like salvation. 37 minutes later, 12 men in black suits move through Cordelia Blackwood's estate like ghosts. No sirens. No announcements. The security system goes dark before the alarms can even register that something has changed. Tony and Franco enter first, weapons drawn but controlled, professional, lethal in their precision. Alessandro Valenti walks through the front door as if he owns it. He is dressed in a black cashmere coat that probably costs more than Allara's entire year of rent, his dark hair catching the light of the foyer chandelier, the scar along his cheekbone casting a shadow that makes him look carved from stone. His eyes sweep across the room, across Cordelia on her designer sofa, across Marchetti reaching for the weapon hidden beneath his jacket, and when he speaks, his voice is the voice of a man who has already decided how this ends. "Do not move," he says. Franco disarms Marchetti in 2 fluid movements. The gun clatters across the marble. Marchetti drops to his knees, his face going white, his body shaking like a child. "Uncle, please, I was just—" "You stopped being my nephew when you demanded money from her," Valenti says, and his voice is colder than the rain outside, colder than winter, colder than death itself. "You stopped being family when you put your hands on her. And you stopped being anything I recognize when you threatened my son." Cordelia stands. She smooths her designer nightgown. Her composure is a carefully constructed wall, and she straightens her spine like she still owns this moment. "You have no proof of anything, Valenti. I know judges. I know senators. I have lawyers who will destroy whatever fantasy you are constructing." "So do I," Valenti says. At 6:27 in the morning, 14 FBI agents arrive at the Blackwood estate with federal warrants. Racketeering. Conspiracy. Money laundering. Wire fraud. Federal charges that carry decades of prison time. Evidence provided by Alessandro Valenti himself, files meticulously kept, transactions documented, a paper trail so clear that even Cordelia's expensive lawyers will choke on it. She is led out in handcuffs, her hair uncombed, her designer nightgown soaked with rain, her bare feet slapping against the wet driveway. The news cameras catch everything. Every network in Boston films her screaming about her innocence, about her reputation, about the injustice. But the evidence is overwhelming. Security footage. Bank transfers. Recorded conversations. All of it leads back to her. 40-year federal sentence. No parole. She will spend her remaining decades in a cell, stripped of everything except her silence. At 7:15 in the morning, Anthony Marchetti is arrested at his penthouse. He offers money. He offers information. he begs, his voice trembling like a wounded animal cornered in a cage. He says he was young, he was stupid, he did not understand. He says he is family, he is blood, he is owed mercy. Valenti watches from the street below, standing in the rain, his coat soaked, his expression unreadable. No mercy, he says quietly to Tony, who stands beside him. Mercy is a kindness he does not deserve. 40-year sentence. No parole. Marchetti will age in prison, his beauty fading, his power evaporating, his name becoming nothing but a cautionary tale whispered among families who think they are above consequence. Justice is not death. Death is too quick, too easy, too merciful. Death ends the punishment. Prison makes it eternal. By 9:48 in the morning, the news has spread across the city like fire. Cordelia Blackwood, the woman who built her reputation on destroying others, caught in federal crimes. Anthony Marchetti, the spoiled nephew of Boston's most powerful man, arrested for extortion and conspiracy. Within 2 hours, 500,000 people have seen the footage. Within a day, millions. The story rewrites itself in the retelling, a rich woman and a spoiled man brought down by their own arrogance, their own greed, their own belief that the rules simply did not apply to people like them. But what matters is the small victory that no one else will ever know about. Allara stands in the hallway of the Boston Children's Services building, her hand shaking, her jaw still swollen from Marchetti's fist. The caseworker reviews the files, and something in her expression shifts. She looks up at Allara with recognition, with respect. The complaint against you has been withdrawn, the caseworker says. Cordelia Blackwood's testimony has been invalidated due to her arrest. All charges dropped. Your position at the shelter is secure. Allara's knees go weak. Micah is safe. The threat dissolves like morning fog. He will not disappear into the system. He will not be lost to the machinery that swallows so many children who have no one to protect them. Outside, the November rain has stopped. The sky is clearing, patches of blue breaking through the clouds like promises finally kept. The November rain has stopped. The sky is clearing, patches of blue breaking through the clouds like promises finally kept. Allara stands in the hallway of the Boston Children's Services building, her hand still trembling. The caseworker looks up from the file, and something shifts in her expression, recognition, respect, the weight of understanding. The complaint against you has been withdrawn, the caseworker says. Cordelia Blackwood's testimony has been invalidated due to her arrest. All charges dropped. Your position at the shelter is secure. Allara's knees buckle. Micah is safe. The threat that has haunted her for months, the invisible machinery that swallows children with no one to protect them, dissolves like morning fog. He will not disappear. He will not be lost. Outside, the city moves forward. Inside her chest, something that has been wound tight for 8 months finally unclenches. 1 week later, Alessandro Valenti walks into St. Catherine's shelter like he owns it, though he owns it quietly, his donation anonymous, his presence rare. Tony and Franco flank him, their black suits too expensive for this place of worn linoleum and donated toys. Micah is in the common room, drawing. His small fingers grip a crayon. When he hears the footsteps, measured, unhurried, deliberate, he goes absolutely still. Then he runs. Not away. Toward. The first word Micah has spoken in 8 months explodes from his chest like a revelation, Papa. Alessandro Valenti, $2 billion of empire, 37 years of calculated mercy and measured violence, drops to his knees. His hands find his son's shoulders. His eyes, dark, penetrating, never wet, spill tears onto the linoleum floor. Franco turns away. Tony withdraws to the corner, his own eyes glistening. In 15 years of working for him, they have never seen him like this. Like a man soothed by a lost child. Like a prayer answered after decades of silence. Allara watches from the doorway. Her heart breaks and heals at once. Later, in Valenti's private office on the 32nd floor of a building that touches the sky, he sits behind mahogany that cost more than her annual salary. The office is all clean lines and expensive emptiness, no photographs, no softness, nothing that speaks of love or family. He slides an envelope across the desk. "The $47,000 Marchetti claimed you owed," he says, his voice deep and solid like an oath. "It never existed. He invented it to trap you. But this," he pushes the envelope closer, "is real. For 8 months of protecting my son when I could not." She opens it with shaking fingers. A check. $200,000. The number is so large it becomes unreal, a thing that cannot possibly be written to her name. "I cannot accept this," she whispers. "You can. You will." His eyes meet hers, and for a moment the walls are down. Just for a moment. And there is more. He slides a key across the polished surface. A 3-bedroom apartment in the North End. Paid in full. You will never clean another floor unless you choose to. She is crying now. Her vision blurs. The key sits there, small, heavy, ordinary, and it holds the entire weight of her transformed life. Why? Her voice shatters like glass. "I am nobody." His hand covers hers. His thumb brushes her wrist. It is a gesture so gentle that it shocks them both. "You are the woman who saved my son," he says quietly. "You are the woman who took a bullet for a stranger. You are not nobody, Allara Santos." Not to him. Not to me. The moment stretches between them like pulled taffy. Then he pulls back. The walls rise. Professional distance returns like a habit he has worn for so long it fits perfectly. "I have enrolled Micah in the best private school in Boston. He starts Monday." His tone shifts, becomes transactional, controlled. "If you would consider accepting a position, he will need someone he trusts nearby. Someone who can pick him up from classes, help him transition, keep him safe." She understands what he is really saying. Stay. Be part of his life. Do not disappear. "You want me to be his nanny?" She asks it carefully, because what she hears underneath is something else entirely. "I want you to be part of his life," Valenti says. "Guardian, nanny, whatever title you prefer. He needs you." What he does not say hangs in the silence between them. "I need you too." She accepts. The arrangement begins. She lives in the North End apartment with its tall windows and hardwood floors, sees Micah daily, slowly becomes embedded in Valenti's world but always at a careful distance. He is formal, controlled, never crossing lines. No hand touches hers except by accident. No personal conversations. Only logistics, school pickup times, what foods Micah prefers, bedtime routines. Months pass like pages turning in a book she cannot put down. She starts online business courses with the financial stability he has given her. She begins volunteering again at the shelter, then volunteering turns into consulting, and consulting becomes something more. She builds a non-profit from the ground up, House of Hope, a foundation that helps shelter children transition to stable lives. She works 18-hour days. She is exhausted and alive and purposeful in a way she has never been. Valenti watches from a distance. His donations are substantial, anonymous, and countless. But he does not take credit. He simply ensures she has what she needs to build it. 1 year later. Allara Santos stands on the balcony of her own penthouse in downtown Boston, not given to her, but earned through her own hands, her own work, her own courage. The building is modest by the standards of the men who wear suits that cost more than working families make in a year. But it is hers. She wears a black evening dress, her hair up, her wrists bare except for the thin gold bracelet, the only expensive thing she owns. Her reflection in the glass door shows a woman she barely recognizes. Confident. Whole. Standing as though she owns the ground beneath her feet. The clear winter night makes the stars sharp as diamonds. Frost glitters on the balcony railing like scattered gems. She does not hear him arrive. Does not hear the private elevator, the unlocking of her door, the careful steps across the penthouse floor. His voice comes from behind her, vulnerable in a way she has never heard. I have practiced what to say for a year. She turns. Alessandro Valenti stands in her living room, tailored suit, scar, eyes that are not cold when they look at her. Alessandro. She breathes his name. What are you doing here? He steps onto the balcony. The cold night air surrounds them both. Micah asked me yesterday why I never smile the way I smile when you visit. He asked why you look sad when you leave our house. Valenti moves closer, and his voice carries weight, truth, the crushing honesty of a man who has finally stopped lying to himself. I did not have an answer because I was afraid of the truth. The city glitters below. Millions of lights. Millions of lives. And here, on this balcony, only two. I have spent a year watching you build yourself into something extraordinary. I have spent a year telling myself that you deserve better than a man with blood on his hands. I have spent a year lying to myself that what I feel is gratitude, respect, admiration. His hand reaches toward her but does not yet touch. But tonight, I am done lying. I love you, Allara Santos. I have loved you since the moment you covered my body with yours while bullets flew. I have loved you every day since. She cannot breathe. The world has stopped moving. You are Alessandro Valenti. You could have anyone. I want you. His hand cups her face. Gentle. Certain. Only you. For a year, I have wanted only you. She kisses him first, pulling him close, a year of unspoken feelings pouring out under the winter stars. When they break apart, her forehead rests against his. Micah asked me why I look sad when I leave your house, she whispers. I told him I was just tired. Valenti smiles, rare, genuine, transforming his face into something that looks like hope. No more lies? No more lies. They stand together on the balcony, the city glittering below them like proof that beauty exists even in places where darkness has ruled for so long. Alessandro and Allara were married 6 months later in a small ceremony at St. Catherine's Shelter where their story truly began. Micah was the ring bearer, his young voice ringing clear when he handed over the rings. The caseworkers cried. Tony and Franco stood in the back, their hard faces soft with the kind of joy that comes from witnessing the impossible made real. She runs her non-profit. He runs his empire. Together they built something neither thought possible, a family born from darkness, held together by love. Cordelia Blackwood and Anthony Marchetti remain in federal prison, their 40-year sentences a reminder that cruelty always has a cost. The woman who built her reputation on destroying others fades away in a cell. The man who thought rules did not apply to him ages in confinement, his beauty fading, his power evaporating into nothing. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only love can do that. If this story moved your heart, hit subscribe now. Drop a comment telling us what you would have done in Allara's position. Would you have trusted the Mafia boss? Would you have risked everything for a stranger? And share this with someone who needs to believe that protection, sacrifice, and love can change everything. New stories drop every single day. Thank you for watching until the very end. We wish you good health, joyful days, and peace in your heart. Goodbye, and we will see you again in the next video.